In a world still chasing economic justice, one voice rises to inspire change. From the streets to the boardrooms, from ideas to real action, Cornell Cruz Jr. invites you to listen, learn, and transform. Come from the people, the community, always present, always pushing forward. Together we build opportunity, we build trust, and we build a just economy for all. This is the Just Economy Project, where equity has a sound, and the future begins with you.
Welcome, everyone, to the Just Economy Podcast. This podcast is sponsored by the Community Reinvestment Alliance of Florida. We are a statewide membership organization. What we do is ensure that the banks reinvest into the community per the Community Reinvestment Act of 1977. We also provide collaborations and partnerships with the financial institutions between the nonprofits and the financial institutions, as well as educate folks on the Community Reinvestment Act. That includes nonprofits, that includes government, and the community at large. So welcome again. We have a very special guest, a very good friend of mine, Dr. Tisa Thomson, but we'll get to her in a second. Again, I want to thank everybody for your participation in the Nonprofit Capacity Building Project. This project was outstanding. We really did a lot of great work with this project. I want to continue it. I continue to seek investors, in particular from the financial institutions, into this particular project. Truist Bank was the first investor, followed by Comerica Bank. And in this particular one, we had 3 years to dispense this money. We did it in 2. So the need was great, and we just served Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach County with this particular grant. We were able to fund 44 organizations for everything from staffing to auditing. This last round, we did have a special grant program of organizations that have budgets under $100,000. Those folks were able to apply to help them get their financials in order. So we got them working with a certified public accountant to get their 990 done, get their audit done, set them up on QuickBooks to get a free copy of QuickBooks. Plus, the CPA works with them to set up QuickBooks for the next year. So this was crucial. We've had several other financial institutions approach us, and I continue to approach the financial institutions in order to get more funding for this program. We're going to be working in St. Petersburg and Tampa early next year. We got some funding for that, so we're going to be working with them, with some organizations up there early in the year, first quarter. So look forward to announcing that and meeting with those folks up there to get them involved as well. But again, I can't thank you enough for participating. In total, we had 165 applications submitted for the 2 iterations of this program. And again, it just only thing we served at this particular time was Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach, looking to serve the whole state and other certain areas of the state as we move forward in the future. So I cannot thank you enough. You demonstrated the need. I can now go to the financial institutions with the need and help, and they can help us fulfill that need. So we look forward to working with each and every one of you. So now that we've got some of the logistics out of the way, I want to get to our very special guest today. Our guest today is Dr. Tisa Thomson. She's a colleague. She's a professor, small business owner, now an author. Yes. And more importantly, she's one of my friends. We've known each other for quite a while. We do breakfast about once a month. She lets me bounce ideas off her. She's been a great friend, and I can't speak enough on how much I value her friendship and her expertise. and her knowledge. So today we're going to talk about a few things concerning her small business and her brand new book.
Yes.
I know an author. I know two authors now. I know two authors. My podcast producer Paulina is also an author. So and now I know two established authors. I can't believe it. I'm moving up in the world. So today we want to welcome Dr. Tisa Thomson.
Hey, thank you so much, Cornell, for having me and just giving me an opportunity to share a little bit about myself. I'm so proud to have worked with you previously on the capacity building grants, and your grantees were fabulous because they actually provided us with great data, and we were able to analyze and tell a good story about what the need is in the community. And I'm so grateful to have had the opportunity to work with you in that capacity since we are and have been friends for such a long time.
Well, Tessa, I think we couldn't have done it without you because you helped us put that story together that I've now been feeding the financial institutions with, and grantees. She's coming back.
Yes.
So first quarter next year, she's going to be coming back and wrapping up this particular part of the project. So I expect you to give her your full and undivided attention, because without her and putting together our report, I cannot go to the financial institutions and request more funding, right?
Yes, absolutely. And again, the previous grantees were fabulous. I'm expecting the new grantees to be fabulous. So everything's going to come together. And what a great story it is to tell, though, about the need and about the success of the grantees that were previously funded. I feel like they had they gained a lot of confidence from having those resources that you were able to share with them. So that, to me, I think, moves the needle in terms of capacity building. So we don't just talk about capacity building, but we're actually doing it. That is fabulous.
Well, that's the key.
Yeah.
The object of the game for us is to make them as strong as possible. Mm-hmm. We all know that we're in very, very difficult times right now as far as financing and funding for the nonprofit organizations, of whom I like to call the social impact organizations. We're at a crossroads right now. And a lot of you are laying off folks, or maybe even shutting down your organizations. And I really hate to see that happen, especially with the needs in the community. The needs aren't going away, or the needs aren't getting any less.
No. If
I know,
anything, they're getting more. So
yes.
that's the reality of what we're facing right now.
Yeah, that makes it even worse. You cut resources but at the same time while you increase the need. That just doesn't make sense to me.
No.
Probably never will. No one could tell me any different. You're not getting me off that argument.
Right.
But it's important and imperative that we fund these organizations, and that the financial institutions invest in these organizations, because they're doing some great work down in the community, and we got to keep that going. We can't afford for that to go away.
Got it. Yep.
So let's talk about your company.
Okay.
So I know, because I know what you did for us. Talk to us about how important it is to actually report and gain data.
Right. So my role at MC3 is really looking at nonprofits and other organizations that are mission driven, right? And they have all the heart, but actually putting all of that information, all of the data that they may be collecting together so it tells a good story, so that it actually demonstrates their impact is what we do. So that's at the core of MC3. But besides that, we do strategic planning. We do a lot of transformational work with organizations. So kind of moving them from where they may be struggling in their actual work and the details of what they have to do, to being excelling at it, right? So that's where we want to be able to have them grow in the time that they're with us. And the main concept that we're working around is around impact, around data, and around storytelling. So those are the areas that MC3 is really, I think, the strongest in. I've been doing this for a number of years, almost.
I remember when you started the company.
Yes, it was 2009, and that really came out of necessity and a desire to really help the community. So my community building instincts didn't stop with my work in the community. And when I went into academia, I said, I need to have an outlet, another way to continue to do that. And so MC3 was born in that.
So the social impact organizations, for the lack of a better word, can be hard-headed. I said it, not Dr. Thompson. So they can be hard-headed and not understand the importance of data.
Right.
How do you get them from saying all I got to do is just go out and say that what my organization does, and boom, 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 somebody's going to write me a check, or someone's going to fund this, or the county is going to like my proposal? How do you get them there?
Okay, so the social worker in me, right, is start where they're at. Really get them to a realization of why the data is important. And a lot of times they've either already been collecting some information, but not being able to use it correctly. So it's actually doing an inventory, assessing where they are. I mean, these skills are at the core of who I am too. So assessing where they are, looking for the strengths, and then actually looking at where we could build on that. So sometimes they're not hard-headed. They just don't know any better. So like
those are my words.
Yeah, we do a lot of work to educate them on the necessity and why it's important. And then we also demonstrate that, right? We have reports like yours. We have reports that we've worked with other clients on that show the exact impact that the agency or the organization has made. And that makes a tremendous difference. When they see it in writing, sometimes it just opens their eyes to like, okay, this makes sense.
Because I've always wondered, especially when you work with those new organizations who have never used your services or used a service like yours before.
Yeah.
I'm wondering what the look of amazement on their eyes. They go, well, wait, ho, we've done this much. They've got the numbers, but they don't realize how much the impact is on the community, right?
Right. And it takes a moment for that to become clear. So we spend a lot of time making sure they understand and have real clarity about what it is they're doing and because they came in again with a heart full of mission, right? Mm-hmm. They have this idea that they want to do and that they want to they see a need and they want to supply that, but without the proper guidance, it doesn't work very well. Mm. So we just show them how to work it well.
And I greatly appreciate that because, I deal with a lot of social impact organizations, including our members, and getting them to understand how important reporting is, how important it is to know how to report exactly what you're doing. Because we can all run in there and make people cry. We can all do that. I can't, but most folks can. Most people can relay their story in that way. But organizations, including the financial institutions, want to see your actual impact on the community, how things are going in the community, how are you making the community better, not just with numbers, but your story, because you mentioned that you work with them on storytelling as well.
Absolutely, because the numbers are great, and a lot of times people are collecting that type of data, but the qualitative stories is really brings all of that to life, and that's what we want to stress and emphasize, is give them the opportunity to bring those stories and demonstrate, like, here's where the impact was really made, and that I think makes a huge difference for funders and for people who are looking to support these social impact organizations.
No, totally agree. Because I figure if I'm going to write a check to someone, I serve on several boards and we have give or get policies, but I wouldn't even be on the board if I didn't believe in what they were trying to do, and if they could not convey to me what they were trying to do. I think that's just as important. Right. So this is where MC3 comes in, trying to help you convey that story, help you turn those big numbers that you're doing, how to turn that into something that's easily consumable.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
Because, if I'm one of those people that cannot stand PowerPoints. You give me 20 million PowerPoints, boy, I'm irked if I have to sit through a PowerPoint presentation. But to give it to me in small doses, 10 slides or less, I can live with that.
Yeah.
So you guys helped them on presentation, correct?
Absolutely. It all comes down to who is the stakeholder or who is the audience that you're going to be sharing that information with. We've done everything from like gallery walks where we have the data on the walls and we have people walk around and they ask questions and they may say, well, what does this mean? What does this graph mean? And it depends again on the stakeholders who you're presenting it to. So that's a way to get to a community stakeholder group. If you're looking at big data, we also sit with people and say, is this really what you need to be collecting? Is this really the information that you want to share?
Really?
Because sometimes you're collecting a lot of data and then you don't ever use it. Like it's not part of what is really the structure of the goal of the impact that you want to make of your organization.
So you work with organizations on the proper data as well, not just collecting data, but the proper data they would use or collect in order to present the funders.
Yes. So we've gone through looking at previous data collection instruments and tools and then going back and saying, okay, I don't think this is really demonstrating what you wanted to demonstrate. And so for years, they've been collecting that data and not using it. But now they're saying, wait a minute. Okay, so what we really want to know is, and then we change the tools, we collect different information, and that's where I think we have made a tremendous impact in working with organizations.
See, so this is why a different set of eyes is always good to have. Regardless of whether you resent it or not. A different set of eyes is always good to have. Or somebody else's opinion, because they may be wasting time collecting data that they don't really need, but thinking, okay, I got to try to hold on to every single number because everything I present may lead to funding.
Right.
So, but coming in with a fresh design, and I love what you just said. Do I really need that? Do I really need to be collecting that? Because if I am collecting it, those are man hours that somebody's doing it.
Oh yeah, and inputting the data. If you're collecting it manually, then inputting the data is also a number of hours. So we take a look at everything, your whole system, and we can give you feedback on what we think is best, and then give you some recommendations. So it's up to you what you follow through with, but I think looking at it from that perspective gives you a different view.
Okay, so social impact organizations. I hope you're learning something from this particular part of our interview. Excuse me. I think it's imperative that we understand data, how to collect data, what data to collect.
There you go.
And how to best use it, right?
Yes. And then remember the audience that you're speaking to. So for our community audiences, again, we may not do a lot of numbers, right? We may do more stories. We may collect more information from them regarding their how they feel about the services they received. So it all of that goes into play.
Okay, so now you just bring up another question.
Sorry.
No. This is good. So now you bring up another question. So now, I also need to think about who I'm going to send certain data to.
Yes.
Depending, because see, I present the data to no matter who it is, long as I can get them to understand it. But apparently, I'm under serious misconception here.
Well, think about your report. Your report was written in mind of the funders, right?
True. So
we laid out what was the value that they were getting for the money that they invested. So that was specifically, I think, maybe for your board and for the funders. That was what if we wanted to do a separate report for the grantees to demonstrate to them how much they learned, that might be would be put together a little bit differently.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, it goes to show you my ignorance on the subject. So Tis, you're telling me that a lot of the times it's not going to be the same report.
No.
The report differs depending on the audience.
Yep.
Whether it's a funder, a supporter, maybe volunteers that we want,
Yeah.
and even the grantees, or for instance, the people that are being served.
Right.
Right. So it may be 4 or 5 different reports, maybe providing the same information but in a different way.
In a different way, different language. The value to each of the groups might be different. Based on that, we would, we would vary the information that might be presented, the way it might be presented, how much. So all of that might have an influence on that.
Okay. Wow.
You learned something today?
Learn something new every day.
There you go.
Yeah, my mother used to say, learn something every day. So that's very, very interesting. So now I got to ask, are your clients, are they amazed when they hear that?
Yes. But a majority of the time their stakeholder groups are only 2.
Sure.
So if they can usually manage that. But if we were to extend into multiple stakeholders, then it might be a different story. So think about a social impact organization. It may be their board and it may be their funders, right? And the funders have a certain data set that they're interested in collecting. So they give you, they prescribe what you're supposed to do. Then for the people that you're serving and maybe you're working with, you want to give them different information based on what their needs might be, like, so that you show we have addressed these needs, or we are working on addressing these needs. So it would be a different storytelling mission.
Okay.
Yeah.
I never really thought about distinguishing between them. So this is something new that I never learned. So now when you do your next report, I'm going to look at it with a whole different scrutiny now. So I want you to know that.
We're going to talk in advance of that. Who is our stakeholders? We're going to be reporting this out to.
Yeah, I'm going to look at it totally different now.
There you go.
But it's just interesting, all the intricacies of being a social impact organization and how we have to fight for funding. And how we try to involve everyone around that particular funding. I think what's happening now as far as cuts, whether it be budgetary or just for the sake of argument, just outright mean, I think for those different reasons, we gotta get better at who we address as far as investors into the community.
Yeah.
I love to call them social impact investors. Those folks who are in the private sector who, they write a monthly check or a yearly check.
Right.
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 But we also want them involved in other ways. We want them not just writing checks, but to volunteer, to actually see what the need is.
Right.
So your report can help us. Also, we can actually gear that towards volunteers.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. There might be a shorter version of your regular report that would go to your volunteers that would make sense to share with them. Mm-hmm.
I'm sure. Well, because, we got to stop looking at this as that money is the do all end all.
Right.
And it's not their precious time, knowledge, and just will to want to change things.
Yeah.
It's also for me just as precious a commodity as funding is.
Mm-hmm.
So I think as social impact organizations, we have to look at it from that point of view as well. So I mean, it's just amazing that she just said that they can tailor the reports in different ways in order to attract what the organization needs to attract. And if you haven't thought about that, and doing it in different ways, especially more than our average too, because I think we all look at it as a report for funders,
right,
and grantors, and maybe a report for the community / government, especially if we're getting funding from government, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So it can be a challenge, but MC3 is here to help you get through that challenge.
Yes.
We're going to take a break and we're going to come back and talk about our brand new author and her new book.